as those who paid the ultimate price stood for them as well. Values that we can build good lives upon. It reminds us to be courageous when fears challenge us. It reminds us to be passionate people. It reminds us to live with dedication to principles of our faith. It reminds us that standing for a cause energizes our life with meaning. We hear similar stories every year, but somehow those stories reset me. They recharge destiny. They recharge a purpose. I think that's why God told his people to build memorials. Build them and go to them and remember, roots I buried into you. Roots planted by amazing dedication. Go to them and be thankful for those whose shoulders you stand upon. Reflect on strength thousands have exemplified, not even knowing they had it in them until they were forced by a situation that is even hard for us to fathom. And they drew from the deepest recesses of their soul strength that deserves to be memorialized. Strength that God put into the root systems of their very being. And we need to remember. We need a reminder day. That's this day. On Memorial Day weekend, we most certainly should be thankful for heroes who gave their lives for our freedom. That's true in the natural realm. It's also true in the spiritual realm because both are intertwined into our nation. America was founded on religious liberties. It was founded by Christians in search of freedom. Freedom to live life however they wanted to live it. Freedom to raise their children and enjoy the journey of watching those kids grow and becoming who God called them to be in their destiny and purpose. Freedom from government overreach. Freedom to worship God, Jehovah God, Jesus Christ the Lord, however they want to, whenever they want to, wherever they want to. Freedom. Freedom has to be treasured. Freedom, we must never give up on it. We stand today on the shoulders of those who gave themselves for it, those who have served our country in all branches of our military, men and women alike. We have the greatest military, the greatest armed forces in all of the world. And we stand on the shoulders today of the Pattons and their family and their sacrifice, the Washingtons, the Eisenhowers, the Grants, the Taylors, the Shermans, the Sheridans, the Meades, the McClellans, the Deweys, the Porters, the Perrys. And perhaps even more so, we stand on the shoulders today of very common, ordinary men and women who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life, freedom more than life. Freedom, liberty, more than life. Men and women who Catherine Bates wrote about, inspired by a trip to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado. Her poem first appeared July 4, 1895 in the Congressionalist, a journal of those times. We know it well, but needs to speak to us. Oh, beautiful for pilgrims' feet, whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. Oh, beautiful for patriots' dreams that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleamed undimmed by human tears. Oh, beautiful for glory tales of liberating strife, when once and twice for man's avail men lavished precious life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee till selfish gain no longer strained the banner of the free. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Ordinary people have made extraordinary stands for freedom. Carpenters laid down their hammers and stood for the cause of freedom. Iron workers climbed down from their skyscrapers and signed up. Truck drivers parked their rigs and they signed up. Farmers left their fields. Lawyers left their practice. Chefs left the kitchens. Teachers left the classrooms. Pastors, like the black-robed regiment, they too signed up. Plumbers, architects, paper mill workers, on and on we could go today. They answered freedom's call, knowing they may not make it back. They are those who ran to battle, protecting freedom, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the right to worship our God however we want. They ate cold food rationed out of tin cans. They slept in dirt trenches. They went without baths for days. They carried wounded comrades on their shoulders, refusing to leave a brother behind. They fought trusting that their families would endure hardship after hardship after hardship, and indeed they did, till all their unity of purpose at home and abroad was one. Elderly men and women, mothers, grandmothers, would get the children off to school and then go make bullets. They prayed, and they prayed. They prayed morning, noon, and night. They worked the factories, making tanks, airplanes, grenades, bombs, guns. Some became skilled mechanics. Many of America's women also died in battle, commanding weapon systems, communication systems, and more recently, fighter jets. Throughout our nation's history, thousands dodged artillery fire to go and care for the wounded. The Women's Auxiliary Army Corps, the Navy Waves, the Marine Corps Women's Reserve. Men and women of all ages stood equally committed to winning wars. America's men and women throughout history have stood for the cause of freedom, often displaying uncommon valor on foreign soils. They have done so from every state of our nation. Freedom that we enjoy today took an all-out effort. It wasn't It most certainly wasn't free. And there's something about those past generations that teach us something that is greater than them, something that is worth our sacrifice. Liberty, of course, is one. We can't forget that. But also, a nation built on the gospel of Jesus Christ is another one, and we can't forget that. Because our nation was built on the gospel of Jesus Christ. It wasn't just freedom from high taxation, although who doesn't want that? But it wasn't freedom from high taxation that brought the pilgrims to this shore. It was religious freedoms, liberties, rights. Our Creator God endows us with that are inalienable. It was worth the sacrifice. It was non-negotiable. Sacrifice in previous generations was a virtue. I think we have to learn that ourselves. We too must pray, God, shed your grace on this nation, making us a city on a hill, a light to the world, the greatest exporter of the gospel in history, a proclaiming nation of who Jesus Christ really is. We too must be those who will endure the stress with nobleness and passion to build freedom thoroughfares again for the spirit and the soul and the bodies of human beings. I believe men and women like that are in churches like this all over the nation today. They're listening to this from their cars. Some are listening from their living rooms. Some their prayer rooms. Some their bedrooms. Some hospital rooms. Common, ordinary people who will exemplify valor in the face of adversity. Moms and dads will fight for their kids. They have been pushed enough. Christian patriots will fight for King Jesus. They've been pushed enough. Evil will be exposed and defeated, just as our God has promised, because of the valor rooted into the Christians of our time. Because it was for freedom that Christ has set us free, Galatians 5:1 says. Yes, freedom from sin. Yes, freedom from the law of sin and death, but also freedom to live our lives in a free nation. We must remember the teachings of our Bible. It has never been God's will for His people to live in bondage in any nation. Not in Egypt, not in Babylon, not in Persia, not in America. He wants us to live in freedom. Freedom that's not negotiable. Rights not negotiable. Because of our nation's Christian heritage, we also stand today on the shoulders of heroes of our faith as well. Men and women who the Apostle Paul said in Hebrews chapter 12, the world is not worthy of. He lists them, at least he lists some of them. Abraham, who left his homeland not knowing where we would be going, but he trusted God. Noah, he builds a ship on dry land. Joseph, who held on to a dream, even though he was put in a pit in a prison. Isaac, who sowed in a desert to feed his family. Sarah, who became productive again at the age of 89. David, who as a boy dared fight a giant. Isaiah, who prophesied in the midst of a 2-year siege, God would come through. No weapon formed would prosper. Ruth, though losing her husband and some of her family members, she never gave up. Esther, I will perish. If I perish, I perish, but I will go and stand for my family and my nation. Deborah, who led a nation in battle against the enemy. As it goes back through time, hero after hero, most of them very common, very, very ordinary people, but with passion, they followed God. As in our times, they were those that had a thirst for freedom. They too wanted to worship God freely, however they wanted to. It is to those common yet extraordinary ones that we owe our thanks today. It is those who displayed courage, valor, uncommon bravery that we owe our gratitude. It is indeed a nation's duty, but it is also a Christian duty. Do not forget the heroes of the faith. Ben Labre writes 2 brief accounts that explains uncommon valor, uncommon action. They have inspired me. They are true stories from the Civil War. A war fought for freedom regardless of skin color. I've thought about them, and I think sometimes where I'm at in life, sometimes these kind of thoughts, they inspire me differently. In a rifle pit on the brow of a hill near Fredericksburg were a number of Confederate soldiers who had exhausted their ammunition in the vain attempt to check the advancing column of General Hooker's finely equipped and disciplined army, which was crossing the river. To the relief of these few came the brigade in double quick time. But no sooner were the soldiers entrenched than the firing on the opposite side of the river became horrific. A heavy mist obscured the scene. The Federal soldiers poured a merciless fire into the trenches. Soon, many Confederates fell, and the agonizing cries of the wounded who lay there calling for water smote the hearts of the helpless comrades. Water, but there was none to give. The canteens were empty. Boys exclaimed, Nathan Cunningham, a lad of 18, the flag bearer for his regiment, I can't stand this anymore. They want water, and water they must have. So let me have a few canteens, and I'll go for some. Carefully laying down the flag, which he had borne on many a field in a trench, he seized some canteens leaping into the mist and was soon out of sight. Shortly after this, the firing ceased for a while, and an order came for the men to fall back to the main line. As the Confederates were retreating, they met Nathan Cunningham, his canteens full of water, hurrying to relieve the thirst of the wounded men in the trenches. He glanced over the passing column and saw that The faded flag which he had carried so long was not there. The men, in their haste to obey orders, had forgotten or overlooked the colors. Quickly the lad sped to the trenches, intent now not only on giving water to his comrades, but on rescuing the flag, and so to save the honor of his regiment. His mission of mercy was soon accomplished. The wounded men drank freely. The lad then found and seized the colors and turned to rejoin his regiment. Scarcely had he gone 3 paces when a company of enemy soldiers appeared over the hill. Halt and surrender came the stern command, and 100 rifles were leveled at that boy's chest. Never while I hold the flag, was his firm reply. The morning sun, piercing with a lurid glare the dense scene, showed the lad proudly standing with his head thrown back and the flag grasped in his hand, while his unprotected breast was exposed to the rifle fire of his foes. A moment's pause, and the federal officer gave his command. Put down your guns, men. Do not shoot this brave lad. And Nathan Cunningham, with colors flying over his head, passed on and rejoined his regiment. His comrades in arms told with pride of his brave deed and patriotic service. Richard Kirkland was a sergeant in the 2nd Regiment of South Carolina Volunteers. The day after the great Battle of Fredericksburg, Kershaw's brigade occupied the road at the foot of Mary's Hill. 150 yards in front of the road, on the other side of a stone wall, lay Sykes' division of the United States Army. Between these troops and Kershaw's command, a skirmish fight was continued for the entire day. The ground between the lines was literally covered with dead and dying soldiers. All day long, the wounded were calling, "Water, water, water." In the afternoon, Sergeant Kirkland, a Confederate soldier, went to the headquarters of General Kershaw and said with deep emotion, "General, all through last night and today, I've been hearing these poor wounded Federal soldiers cry for water. Let me go and give them some." "Don't you know," replied the general, "that you would get a bullet through you the moment you stepped over the wall?" "Yes, sir," said the sergeant, "but if you let me go, I'm willing to try." The general reflected a moment, then answered, "Kirkland, I ought not to allow you to take this risk, but the spirit that moves you is so noble, I cannot refuse. Go, and may God go with you." In the face of almost certain death, the sergeant climbed the wall and watched with anxiety by the soldiers in the army, at the soldiers in front of him. Under the curious gaze of his foes and exposed to their fire, he dropped to the ground and hastened to his errand of mercy. Unharmed, untouched, he reached the nearest sufferer, and he knelt beside him, tenderly raising his drooping head, resting it gently on his breast, and poured the cooling, life-giving water down the parched throat. This done, he laid him carefully down, placed that soldier's knapsack under his head, and began to straighten his broken limbs. Then covered him with his coat. He replaced the empty canteen with a full one, then turned to another sufferer. By this time, his conduct was understood by friend and foe, and the firing ceased on both sides. For an hour and a half, he pursued his noble mission with his mercy to reach the wounded comrades. He relieved the wounded on all parts of the battlefield. Then he returned to his post uninjured. A noble deed worthy of admiration of men and angels. America stands on the shoulders of 1,000 Nathan Cunninghams and Richard Kirklands. If we listen today, really listen, a cry can be clearly heard. Desperate people, wounded people, hurting people are parched and thirsty for water, living water, the water of salvation, water Jesus provides from a well that never runs dry, never. It never will. Water that quenches the thirst for freedom from sin, guilt and condemnation. Water that quenches man's thirst for unconditional love. Water that flows and provides hope and freedom from hell's bondage. Freedom from wounds in their souls. Freedom from fears, freedom from brokenness, freedom from abuse. The world is hungry and it's thirsty for real life, abundant life. There are so many perishing ones hell has attacked, laying on life's battlefields everywhere, crying, water, water. We are those who can bring that water. It's our mission. We are those who can share the water of salvation that Jesus gives. And we need to fill our canteens and run with compassion to those who are thirsty for soul freedom. As our heroes of faith have done century after century, decade after decade after decade. What a challenge to us comes from those who exemplified their stand for the gospel of Jesus Christ. King David was a common, ordinary human being who exemplified great bravery. He exemplified great valor. And he's one of the heroes of faith that Paul listed in Hebrews chapter 12. David he started out as a shepherd boy. Nothing extraordinary about that. Yet he shows us the passion of a man who is after God's heart. He was also a man who faithfully served his God, and also a soldier who faithfully fought for his nation. He was a warrior. He fought for freedom. freedom from enemy nations who sought to enslave God's people and plunder his country. He battled the Amalekites. He battled the Philistines. He battled the Midianites. He fought giants for his nation. He led armies against Israel's enemies. And he rose from humble beginnings to become Israel's greatest king, one of the greatest kings in all of history. Of all the accolades and the medals, the banners, the awards David received, and deservedly so, none can equal the accolade of Father God himself. That warrior is a man after my heart. He loves me. He loves his nation, and he will fight for freedom. David, of course, wrote many of the Psalms we enjoy today. Psalms or songs that we enjoy today. Many of which were written in times of war. Many were inspired by heated times of battle. Many of them were inspired by perilous times that he faced individually or his family did. One is Psalm 63. It was written in the wilderness of Judah while he was being chased by enemy soldiers who sought to kill him. He was surrounded often, we are told, but yet he trusted that God would somehow, he was surrounded, God would somehow that day take him to heaven if he was killed, or God would help him escape. He doesn't write about how hard he has it. He doesn't write about his exhaustion. He doesn't write about his utter frustration and the unforgiveness or the unfairness of it. No, from a hiding place, he writes these words one pre-dawn morning. They're words of faith. They're words expressing hope. They're words of trust in Almighty God, no matter what he sees, no matter what happens, no matter what he presently is experiencing. At this point in his life, he's a warrior. He's a soldier at this point in his life. And this worship warrior declares his heart. Psalm 63 from the New King James Version. O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there is no water. So I have looked for you in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory, because your loving kindness is better than life. My lips will praise you. Thus will I bless you while I live. I will lift up my hands in your name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise you with joyful lips when I remember you on my bed. I meditate on you in my night watches, because you've been my help. Therefore, in the shadow of your wings, I will rejoice. My soul follows close behind you. Your right hand upholds me. The Message Bible reads this way: God, you're my God. I can't get enough of you. I've worked up such a hunger and thirst for you, God, traveling across dry and weary deserts. So here I am in the place of worship, eyes open, drinking in your strength and glory. In your generous love, I am really living at last. My lips brim praises like fountains. I bless you every time I take a breath. My arms wave like banners to praise you. I eat my fill of prime rib and gravy. I smack my lips. It's time to shout praises. If I'm asleep at midnight, I spend the hours, or if I'm sleepless at midnight, I spend the hours in grateful reflection, because you've always stood up for me. I'm free to run and play. I hold on to you for dear life, and you hold on to me steady as a post. It's inspiring to me that in this wilderness, fighting for his life, David was thinking about freedom to run and play. He was reminding himself, God will always stand up for me. If I trust him, he'll stand up for me. He reminded himself that God held on to him for, when he held on to God for dear life, God held on to him steady as a post. David is one of the thousands of soldiers, like many in our military, who have, from a hideout somewhere, a hideout someplace, held on to God for dear life, knowing that that day may be their last, but trusting that he would see them through to a place called heaven, or he would help them escape. But to them, freedom to run and play was worth the sacrifice. Freedom for their kids to run and play was worth it. Freedom for their country from tyranny was worth it. Freedom from dictatorial government was worth it. Oh yes, we stand on the shoulders of heroes. And their dedication, their service, their sacrifice, it must be honored, but honored with more than lip service. Honored with our own stand for freedom. Honored with a commitment to fight for our heritage. Honored with our stand for the gospel of Jesus Christ. Singers and musicians, come please. Samuel Smith penned these words. We all know it, but we need to pay attention today, especially. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing. Land where our fathers died, our aunts and uncles died. Land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Let music swell the breeze and ring from all the trees, sweet freedom's song. Let mortal tongues awake, let all that breathe partake. Let rocks their silence break, the sound prolong. Our fathers, God, to thee, author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. Stand if you would. Perhaps today you're thirsty. Perhaps you're in this room and you're so thirsty for life, salvation, freedom from bondage. Perhaps you're watching in other states or even other nations today, and you're so thirsty for real life. You're so thirsty for soul freedom, for healing inside from the pain of past or abuse. The situations are so many. but you're thirsty. Today on this Memorial Day weekend, we do give thanks for those who lay down their life. And in honor of the heroes of our faith, we tell you today, there is a well of living water. And we're bringing it to you today. The words of our King will never fail. There is a well that never runs dry. Your cry for water can be answered. If you trust him, he will cause life to become steady as a post. If you trust him, your soul can leap with freedom to run and play again, to enjoy the presence and the heritage Jesus provides. If you're thirsty today, come into alignment with this prayer, whether you're in here or wherever you may be. Father God, I'm thirsty. I'm so thirsty. I need living water. I need salvation. I need healing. I need you to steady me. I need your hope. I need your life. I need the sacrifice Jesus came and provided on the cross to be a living sacrifice for me today. Give me salvation. Father, let your healing salvation waters flow to life situations today, spirit, soul, and body. Let spiritual life flow, salvation flow to those who are hurting, laying around the battlefields of life, crying out. Fill them today. Thank you for giving us living water. We're very aware today that the greatest memorial life that was ever sacrificed or laid down for man was you. You gave it for all of us, no matter where we may be on this planet. You're the hero of all heroes. We love you today. We worship you. May your life inspire us to run with canteens to the hurting, those who are crying water. Be filled. We do stand on your faithfulness, Lord. And on this weekend, we ask that you would help us to be eternally grateful. We ask for your blessings to be upon the memory of those who served our nation, their families that have been left behind. May we celebrate their lives, and may you continue to inspire us to live beyond ourselves, to believe you and to stand for you, understanding there are some things worth the laying down of our lives for. Inspiring, Lord, it's inspiring. those, Lord, today that